The beginning is mental, and it's more personal now. Our first design studio is an architecture fundamental one, at the beginning of 5 undergraduate years. As educators, we know that architecture is probably one of the most intensive careers, and that architecture education has a reputation for putting another layer of stress upon its students. We know that. We also know how accountable we are for the transition of our students to the best practice, and how responsible we are to produce healthier and more optimistic graduates who show better engagement in architecture practice. At the introductory level, we have the privilege of dreaming, abstracting, while enjoying being playful, especially at the beginning. We've tackled problems, serious ones, but imaginary, some in remote and some in virtual contexts. We've nurtured the beginning sensual skills, cognitive abilities, progressively, until we reach the preliminary architecture level. Yet, we kept noticing that the outcome varies every year with every different group of students. The individuality of the students, the divergence, the way each group reacts to the whole learning process is different. This is why we've considered other individual aspects in assessing the student's performance, like monitoring their enjoyment, engagement, motivation, and how inspired they are. All were indicators on how engaging our studio was or not. It also provided us with subliminal insights to consider every year when evaluating, improving, and developing our approach. We have been even concerned with the byproduct of the studio, the negative habits that stem implicitly from the studio lifestyle, from the workload, and sometimes from the content of the courses. All can likely be done, as long as we kept that one-to-one contact and eye-to-eye communication. So we thought we had all under control until 2019. In October 2019, Lebanon was subjected to unprecedented events, natural man-made disasters, incomplete youth revolution, and a rough economic crisis. These events have led to the major lockdown that ended the fall. Later, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic forced another lockdown to end the whole academic year remotely. Working from home for the first time, we were more concerned with the efficiency of the process. We've searched out tools, tried to experiment with different platforms, diversifying the typology of the teaching material, and developing several feedback methods to make up for the missing one-to-one discrete. But there was clear deficiency in the connection. We were not able to establish the same type of communication, the one that enabled us before to draw conclusions, plan our next step accordingly. To see beyond the photos of the physical project they're sending. We are lacking something in the studio. The spark. I think it is. Our remote learning approach was formulated upon our own perception of the current situation, simply a one-sided story. It was evident, and the misconception kept popping with every virtual studio we have. Trying to perceive the current situation from the other side, we've asked our students to criticize their daily routine during the lockdown, beginning with a 3-minute video note, a fun yet eye-opener experiment revealing the mental and emotional aspect of the student's life under such circumstances. Finally, we were able to see the other side of the screen, the communication we thought we've established well. We're delivering the course in unusual circumstances, infiltrating a very private space, a lifestyle that was not created for this, and a routine that changed dramatically. Yet, we've settled our learning easily inside, convincing ourselves that we're still in control of the process, while we're not. A hybrid situation that is more personal now, and our efforts to devise a successful remote learning experience could smoothly deviate and cross the fine line between efficient hard work and wasteful exploitation. Clearly, we need to consider the relevance of the inputs and the feedbacks to the nature and circumstances of the specific and not anonymous learner. In their following project, we've encouraged them to tackle the previously criticized routine, to draw their perfect one and create the space that could house it in the Lockdown in My Room project. The problem here was giving from the students' close sensual reality. The project encouraged and stimulated their involvement personally and academically, and especially in the second stage when less constraints were proposed, when they were giving the space to dream and to imagine. Then they were so immersed in the experience. For the current academic year, we've started remotely with new students, beginning with what we've learned, to ask smart questions with subliminal responses and to listen patiently to their answers before proposing a problem. Then, to comprehend and identify key characteristics of each group. Collectively, we're defining, and individually, the existing circle of concerns, interests, and differences as well. We did that. Then we had a vision, a hypothesis to test. We ask a tangible question, propose a problem that we think is close, approachable, and personal enough to light up that sparkle, to solve it in their minds and their hearts. In our first session with the new students, it was planned to be more about discussion, planned discussion that looked improvised, giving them the opportunity to voice their thoughts and feelings in a friendly environment. The session was then analyzed and revealed personal and general concerns upon which we've planned our project. So first project, the sensory experience, Beirut 8-4, was based on the psychological traumatic effect of Beirut explosion on their lives. They had to convey their view of their legacy's past, present, and future. The design proposes a cubic space, a cubic volume, exposed to this devastating event. It then tracks the changes that occurs in the following three stages. First stage is the pre-traumatic stage, the past, the legacy. In this stage, the original design stands for what it expresses. The second stage, the trauma, the present, the shock, it's the stage of explosion, the expression of the shock feeling. The third stage, post-traumatic, the future, the vision, is the interference phase that includes the personal statement about envisioning the future. With such tangible problem, we've tried to maintain the level of abstraction required at that level, while stimulating their senses enough to get them engaged in the solution. In the next project, Back to Basics, we have adopted the concept of urban agriculture as a way for citizens to begin producing part of their own consumption. Back to Basics is an attempt to connect the students with their ancestors, to the way the community used to secure its needs not far ago. Students were required to design a shelter for a rooftop garden carer, a place that enabled him to rest during his gardening duties. Given that every building in the urban dense context of the city would be using their roofs for food production, vegetables, and fruits. Students were required to come up with the standard unit, a unit that had the potential to create a number of structural forms, and that could be later fabricated to help create different shelters on different rooftops. A fictional problem that is based on true events. Student proposals were edited using Steve McCurry's iconic photos for the Lebanese people in 1982 in direct reference to the theme Back to Basics. At the end is an intentionally left blank slide. What's next? There's a title that say tomorrow, maybe next semester. In our course, are we prepared? When things were, normal, we used to follow the same pedagogical approach in our studio for 2 consecutive years. This enabled us to compare and analyze its efficiency with 2 different groups of students before any development or adjustment. But now, the circumstances are changing every semester, and sometimes more. We know the intended outcomes we're aiming at, but the process, the path, is changeable. We might just have the first question to ask tomorrow, and maybe some good problems to decide from. But the decision, the path, that one needs to wait for the answer. Thank you.